My sister banned my wife from her wedding because, according to her, she would lower the visual standard. I didn't argue, I stayed silent, sent a gift, and then booked a private helicopter ride. As they lined up for a perfect family photo, my chopper flew overhead and released something that made every guest freeze in shock. "You can still come," Claire said, crossing her legs and sipping her green juice, as if she hadn't just insulted my wife to her face. "But she can't. This wedding is about elegance, cohesion, visual storytelling. I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just being honest." My wife sat quietly beside me, her hands tightly clasped, her cheeks flushed, not from shame, but from the immense restraint she had to muster to keep from saying exactly what she was thinking. I recognized that look. I turned to Clare, my sister, the influencer, the perfectionist, the one who saw her wedding as nothing less than a Vogue shoot. "You're banning my wife," I said, keeping my voice level. Claire tilted her head, feigning innocence. "No, I'm just editing the guest list." And with that, she looked down at her phone, scrolling through Pinterest boards, dismissing us like we were just background noise. My wife stood first. "Let's go," she whispered, her voice cracking slightly, but her posture remained rigid with dignity. We said nothing else, not to Claire, not to my mother, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, doing nothing, not to my father, who was too busy analyzing the guest seating chart to notice we were leaving. When we reached the car, I opened the door for her. She paused, looking at me before speaking. "Don't make a scene." It wasn't the first time, but it was the last straw. I didn't argue, I just kissed her forehead, started the car, and drove her home. That night, I RSVP'd no, sent a generous gift, nothing petty, nothing dramatic, and then made a phone call. I booked a private helicopter ride over the vineyard where Claire's wedding was happening. I reserved the exact time for post-ceremony portraits, and prepared a delivery that would be impossible to ignore. If Claire wanted a picture-perfect day, free of anything visually unworthy, so be it, but she would never forget the moment the sky opened up, the helicopter hovered, and something fluttered down like ash. The guests ran, screaming, phones in hand, designer heels left behind. No one saw it coming, not even Claire. But before I tell you what I dropped, you need to understand how we got here. This wasn't just about a wedding. This was about control, cruelty, and years of being the family's spare. This was about a brother who'd finally had enough. They didn't just ban my wife, they erased her. After everything I'd done, every dollar I'd poured into this family, I was just disposable, a walking ATM, and now, I was an inconvenience. You know what stings the most? It's not the insults, not the silence. It's doing everything for a family that treats you like furniture, useful when needed, invisible when not. Claire was always the golden child, the princess, the polished one, from pageant-level hair to queen bee status in school. She got what she wanted with a sweet smile and a helpless act. Me? I was the one who quietly took care of everything. Like when Dad forgot to pay the electricity bill for 2 months, and I stepped in, or when Claire's car broke down right before prom, and I maxed out my credit card to fix it, so she wouldn't miss her moment. No one ever thanked me, but I told myself, that's what family does, right? When Claire got her first apartment after college, guess who co-signed the lease? Me. When she got laid off for 3 months and couldn't make ends meet, guess who paid her rent, groceries, and gym membership? Me again. When our parents wanted to throw her a surprise birthday party fit for a queen, but couldn't afford it, guess who footed the $2,400 for catering and decorations? You get the idea. It wasn't just Claire. Our parents loved calling me Mr. Responsible, which really meant Mr. ATM. They never stopped reminding me that I had my life together, which somehow meant I was liable for everyone else's disasters. Emily, my wife, noticed it right away. "Why do you always pay?" she asked one day, after I sent $600 to my mom for a few things. "Their family," I said, shrugging. She gave me a long, hard look. "So are we." I should have listened to her sooner. The tipping point came during wedding planning. Claire had just gotten engaged to Anthony, a tech bro with a startup ego. They were planning a rustic luxury vineyard wedding that looked like it cost more than my entire college education. At first, I kept my distance, knowing how these things went. But then my mom called. "We're a little short," she said. "How short?" She sighed dramatically. "Claire's dream venue raised the price. If you could just help out this once." "How much?" "A few thousand," she said, as if it were nothing. You know you always help, and you make good money. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no, either. That was my mistake. The next day, Claire texted me. Thanks for agreeing to chip in. The wine tasting package is going to be amazing. Wait, agreeing? I called her immediately. Who told you I agreed to pay? She laughed, light and dismissive. Oh, come on, don't be stingy. It's your only sister's wedding. Don't act like you can't afford it. Didn't you just buy a new car? My chest tightened. Yeah, a car I needed because mine was falling apart. She rolled her eyes. I could hear it through the phone. God, you're such a buzzkill. I told her I hadn't agreed to anything. Well, fine, I'll ask Dad, she snapped before hanging up. 3 days later, my aunt casually mentioned that Claire had restructured the budget, assuming I'd pay $5,000. And everyone knew it. Including Emily, who hadn't even been invited to the wedding. When I confronted my parents, they were frustratingly vague. Well, you've always helped, my dad said, as if that was a contract. Mom chimed in, don't ruin this for her. She deserves a perfect day. If Emily can't be a team player, maybe it's best she stays home. I stared at them, stunned. You're serious? They looked at each other and shrugged. You know how Claire is, Mom said, like that made it okay. She's stressed, Dad added, weddings bring out emotions. Emily was sitting on the couch when I got home. She had a glass of wine in her hand, her eyes red. She texted me, she said quietly. I sat beside her, bracing myself. Claire? She nodded. She said I didn't belong, that I was a visual liability, that you'd come alone if you really cared about your family. My throat tightened. She said I make you look small. Emily turned to me, her voice trembling. Do I make you look small? Something inside me snapped. No, I said firmly, they do. The next morning, I sent Claire a message. No drama, no emotion. We won't be attending, hope it's everything you dreamed of. I also sent the gift she'd expected, a pricey espresso machine from her registry. And then I booked the helicopter. But before the satisfaction could settle, the guilt storm rolled in. Mom called. Dad called. Claire messaged the group chat. Didn't expect you to be this petty, you've always been generous, guess money changes people. Then came the text that shattered the last string. Don't punish me because your wife doesn't measure up. I stared at the screen, frozen. Claire hadn't just erased Emily, she'd spat on her, and expected me to fund it. No more. I picked up my phone, called a private aviation company, and started planning the moment that would ruin her perfect day. Not with violence, just the truth. The truth, falling from the sky in front of everyone Claire had ever tried to impress. They called it the most elegant wedding of the season. Until the helicopter came. I was calm when I arrived. From the hilltop, the venue stretched out below like a Pinterest board come to life. White canopy, neatly arranged chairs. A floral arch dripping with soft pinks and champagnes. The vineyard behind it glistened, golden in the late afternoon sun. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. Claire stood near the altar, her gown flowing like something from a bridal commercial. Anthony stood beside her, beaming. Guests sipped rose and posed for photos while a string quartet played something light and expensive sounding. Then, the hum. It started as a soft, curious vibration in the air. By the time the helicopter was directly above them, every head was turned. The music stopped. The air shifted. What's going on? Someone shouted. Then came the drop. Hundreds of white cards fluttered from the sky like snowflakes. At first, the guests reached out, confused, thinking it was part of the wedding. Until they flipped them over. On one side, a black and white portrait of Emily, my wife. Graceful, strong, honest. On the other side, the truth. A screenshot of Claire's message. If he brings that librarian-looking wife, I'm cropping her out of every photo. A group chat reply from my mother with a heart emoji under Claire's comment. She ruins the aesthetic. And Claire's boldest text yet. We'll guilt him into paying half the wedding. He always folds. The cards hit the ground, the tables, the shoulders of stunned guests. Phones came out. Whispers started. A few gasped. Some just stood frozen, staring at what they held. Claire screamed first. Anthony looked around, unsure whether to shield her or run. Then, chaos. Mom lunged for the cards, frantically trying to grab them before more people could read them. Dad shouted about calling security. The photographer panicked, thinking it was a drone prank. And Claire, the perfect bride, began spinning in circles, yelling, "Who did this?" And then she saw me. I was standing just beyond the vineyard gate, watching. She stormed toward me, her veil twisted, makeup smearing, cards crunching beneath her designer heels. "What is wrong with you? You ruined everything." I didn't flinch. "No," I said calmly, "I revealed everything." She stopped, trembling. Guests were backing away now, unsure if this was still part of the show. Claire's face twisted in fury. "You always hated me, you were jealous, that's what this is." I took a step forward. "Jealous? You uninvited my wife, said she didn't fit the look you wanted, told everyone I'd bankroll your fantasy because I always do." I locked eyes with her. This wasn't revenge, Claire, this was a wake-up call. Just then, Anthony appeared behind her, staring at one of the cards. He glanced between her and me, disbelief crossing his face. "You said you didn't talk about him like this." Claire reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "No, it's not." He turned and walked off, leaving her standing there in a $9,000 dress, alone. My mother was next, charging toward me, red-faced and frantic. "What have you done? You've humiliated your sister in front of everyone. Her wedding is ruined." I met her gaze, unflinching. "You helped her humiliate my wife for months, and expected me to fund it. You're being dramatic," she hissed. I pulled one of the cards from my pocket and held it out. "Is this dramatic? You liked this, remember?" Her face drained of color. Guests were starting to leave now. One muttered, "This is a disaster." Another whispered, "Good for him." One woman snapped a photo of Claire, her mascara streaked with tears, and murmured, "That's going viral." I turned and walked away. No goodbyes. No glances back. And in that moment, with truth raining down, every lie laid bare, I felt something I hadn't in years: peace. I dropped the truth from the sky. But what hit hardest wasn't the cards. It was the silence that followed. For the first time in my life, no one from my family called me. Not that day. Not the next. Not the one after. Silence. At first, it unsettled me. Then, it made me smile. Claire went dark on social media. Her Instagram, wiped clean. The wedding hashtag, gone. No posts, no reels, just awkward photos from guests, a chaotic venue, a bride in meltdown. Cards scattered like confetti. The internet, of course, had its opinions. I didn't share the video. Someone else did. And once it hit a wedding drama forum, it exploded. Bride's band SIL calls her ugly, gets exposed mid-vow via helicopter drop, 500K likes. Claire's name wasn't tagged. But those who knew, knew. The comments were brutal, but honest. Imagine calling someone not aesthetic while begging them for money. I hope he dropped a Venmo request too. Helicopter mic drop? King behavior. Emily saw the post 2 days later. She came into the room, phone in hand, her hands trembling. "Was this you?" I met her eyes. Yes. She didn't say anything for a long while. Then, she sat beside me, gently placed the phone on the table, and whispered, "Thank you." And then she cried. Not from pain this time. But release. That night, we opened a bottle of wine, the good one. Sat on the floor like teenagers and laughed until 2 a.m. We were free. Of them, of all of it. But freedom doesn't come without backlash. On day 4, the calls finally came. First, my mother. "How dare you shame your sister like that? She's devastated." I stayed calm. "You all shamed my wife for years. Claire just got a taste of what she's been serving." "You're being dramatic," she snapped. "It was just a misunderstanding." "No," I said, "it was a pattern. And I ended it." Click. Then my father tried. His voice was tired, worn. "You've made your point. Enough's enough." "Not quite," I replied. "I haven't even sent the rest of the screenshots." He cursed under his breath. Then, "So that's it? You're just done with us?" I laughed softly. "I've been done. You just didn't notice until the money stopped." Claire texted me 2 days later. One line, "You've ruined everything." I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded her message to Emily with a laughing emoji. Emily replied, "You ruined her branding." The weirdest part? Anthony reached out. Yes, the groom. Turns out, he moved out 3 days after the wedding. He messaged me on LinkedIn, of all places. I didn't know half of what she said behind my back. Thank you for showing me who I almost married. We met for coffee. He looked lighter, relieved. I got lucky, he said. You took the hit so I didn't have to. As for me? I deleted the family group chat. Blocked every number, except my grandmother's. She called me after seeing the video online. She was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. I always said that girl needed a lesson in humility. Did I go too far? I asked. She paused, then said, you went high, they went low. You just flew over it all. I'm not angry anymore. Not even bitter. I'm just done. Done being the wallet. The scapegoat. The brother who always paid and never counted. Now, Emily and I are planning a trip. A real one, not a fake wedding honeymoon. A 2-week escape to a quiet beach. No drama. No Clare. No aesthetic standards. Just peace. And maybe, if we pass over a vineyard, I'll look down and smile. Because somewhere down there, I left my past behind. And above it all, we flew. They said I destroyed the family. But the truth is, I just stopped financing the fantasy. 3 months have passed. 3 months since I dropped the truth from the sky. 3 months since I walked away from a family that saw me as little more than a bank with legs. And I haven't looked back. Not even once. No more emergencies that are urgent. No more, can you cover this just this once? No more, you're the only one we can rely on. Just peace. Real, deep, healing silence. Emily and I have started over. We sleep in on Sundays. We cook together. We laugh, truly laugh, without the shadow of family drama hanging over us. And when we argue, it's about the little things, like what to watch on TV or who left the dirty dishes. Not about defending each other from knives thrown by my family. That alone was worth everything. But deep down, I knew this wouldn't end there. It came on a Tuesday. The phone rang from a private number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. But something made me pick up. Hello? It was Claire. Her voice was unsteady, soft, unlike anything I'd heard before. I'm pregnant, she said. Before I could even respond. Silence. I'm pregnant, and I don't know what to do. She repeated herself, as if her words should carry more weight than they did. I stayed silent. Anthony left. My friends are gone. Mom and Dad, they're not helping me. Still, I said nothing. You've always been there for me. There it was. Not an apology. Not a revelation. Just a carefully crafted plea wrapped in vulnerability. She paused, waiting for me to rush in. To say, okay, I'll help, let's fix this. But I didn't. Instead, I asked, why are you telling me this? The pause was longer this time. Because, maybe we could start over. Her voice cracked as she said it. Family is supposed to be there for each other, right? I felt the pull. That familiar tug of guilt. The old ache, the one that whispers, you're the one who has to fix it. But this time, it passed. I took a deep breath. And then I said, Claire, you're about to bring a life into this world. Let me give you something important. She sniffled, what? Don't do to your child what our parents did to us. Don't teach them that love is something you demand. Don't raise them to believe that help is a debt to be repaid. And for the love of everything, don't ever use them as a pawn to pull someone back into your orbit. She went quiet. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't need to know if she meant it. The moment had passed. Take care of yourself, I said, and ended the call. No anger. No drama. Just peace. The kind of peace that says, this chapter is over. I told Emily that night. She didn't say much at first. She let the silence hang, and then asked, do you feel bad? I thought for a moment. No, I replied. I feel free. I used to believe that being the bigger person meant staying, forgiving, and sacrificing. But now I know, sometimes, being the bigger person means walking away. Locking the door behind you. Not everyone deserves access to your heart, no matter how much blood runs through their veins. Do I wish things had turned out differently? Of course. But not enough to go back. Not enough to trade my peace for their chaos. Not enough to step back into the fire just because someone finally noticed it was burning. Here's what I know now. Love without respect is manipulation. Family without boundaries is debt. And silence is sometimes the loudest truth of all. I'm not the villain here. I'm not the victim, either. I'm simply the one who finally, said, enough. So, if you're reading this, wondering if it's okay to stop being the family savior, it is. If you're wondering if choosing peace over obligation makes you selfish, it doesn't. And if you're wondering if you'll survive the fallout, you won't just survive. You'll soar. Just like I did. Above the vineyard. Above the noise. Above the lives they tried to build on my back. And when I land, I'll be someone entirely different.